live now. I'm going live on Twitch so I can tell people my hot takes. Doo-doo-doo. A little confused as to why my headset seems to not want to do anything right now. Alright, how does this sound, I wonder? Alright, so let's do a quick sound test so I can tell how this sounds to everybody else, and then I should be able to jump right into it. Alright, everything sounds good on my end. Hopefully everything sounds good on your end. Looks like it does. Perfect. So let's get going with the first real week of the Horsehead Weekly. And by that, of course, I mean the third real week because I wouldn't have just taken a couple weeks off to go on vacation, then be sick, then be doing a bunch of stuff at work. That would be insane, you know. But here we are. We're back. We're here. We're back. It is time for the Horsehead Weekly, week number 3. We have done 2 weeks of fantasy football, and I got to catch everybody up on that. This show is not going to be the full length as they were the last year because I had to start everything from scratch. So I'm still going to be building up. Next week we'll have like waivers and trade analysis and stuff like that. And we'll slowly begin to build up like we did last year to like our mid-season form. Hopefully week 5 I can come out and I can have all the kind of 9 weird things that you don't know about Tom Brady or something like that. I don't know. We'll do something cool. But for right now, let's get into it. Horsehead Weekly, week number 3. Lego. And as always, as everybody knows, and as James says in the chat the other day, we gotta go fast. We gotta go so fast because I only have, what? I got less than an hour to get this done before y'all start Thursday Night Football. And that's cheating if I know how anything's going to end before I start my power rankings. So let's get into it. Let's start with what happened last week. So last week was the second week of the season, so you can tell what happened the first week if you do the look at the statistics. And so James, he's got 2 wins. He won last week. Clearly, he won the week before. Do math if you want to figure out what happened the week before. But what happened last week? The reason I have this one up is it's pretty interesting, and it's going to make a lot of people really, really upset. So the bottom 4 teams last week, so that is the 4 lowest scoring teams in the league, played each other last week. That was myself facing up against Matt S. and Nick playing against Jerry. Now, that means that people like Doug, who were in the top 4 teams for points scored, lost because he didn't have anybody to play who wasn't in the top 4 because all us bottom dwellers, we just kind of all fought each other. And it ended up working out really well for me as I'm still trying to construct my team. I'm finally getting some trades through because I'm getting, my hot take machine was running on empty there for a little bit. A trade just occurred I hate you guys. All right, let's see it. Let's see it right now. Live reaction from the Commissionator, from Commissioner Palpatine. Let's see what we got. This is a biggin. Oh boy. Oh boy, this is a biggin. Okay, so we have OBJ and Giovanni Bernard, as well as, I believe that's Jordan Hicks. Is that his name? Being traded for Allen Robinson. So this is Nick, set your lineup right now, dude. You gotta set your lineup now, cause oh no, sorry, Leonard Fournette plays tonight. So Nick, set your lineup, dude. Allen Robinson, Leonard Fournette, and Leighton Vander Esch. So it looks like what happened here is Nick did the opposite of what he's been doing the last few trades he's made. All the trades I've been seeing him making lately and all the offers I've been getting from him, it looks like he's trying to consolidate down to a starting lineup already, and then hoping that he can replenish his bench off of waivers. That is why he's been asking for Fab from me, and he got some Fab from me in a trade. Yeah, he gave a little bit of trade earlier today, but you know, that's his own thing. So it is very interesting to see this, because what he did, he took OBJ and he broke him into Leonard Fournette and Allen Robinson, because Giovanni Bernard is basically just a handcuff. The only person who would care about him is me, unless you're planning on holding on to him in case something happens, or if you think that Joe Mixon is just not going to get right and they're going to go back to a committee type situation. But, so yeah, so we basically broke up OBJ. Maybe he's a little bit worried about his usage or something. That's why I traded him away. I was a little bit worried that just looking at that Browns offense, it's not clicking right now. And I'm just a little bit afraid that it's not going to click. Now, I know he was really good in New York when his offense wasn't clicking either. But I don't know. Just a gut feeling I wanted to get rid of him. So so he trades those away, and he gets a bit of an upgrade at linebacker too with this trade, because I believe Vander Esch is probably a pretty high tier guy. He's got a high motor. He tends to find his way into the play a lot. That's one of the best things about him. That makes him such a valuable player. So yeah, so we basically trade that away. I don't like Allen Robinson right now. Mitch Trubisky, for as bad as some people have been in the NFL, Mitch Trubisky has just looked really, really bad this year. It seems like he doesn't quite remember how good he was last year. He's basically just sitting there being like, "Ah, cool, I'm a football guy, football." Like he's really got to get himself back into whatever he was doing last year, because a lot of people had him picked this year to make a big jump, for Chicago to go really far. Now they got Montgomery. They got a bunch of people healthy this year. People were thinking they're going to make a run. If Mitch Trubisky continues to be bad, that's not going to happen. And if he continues to be bad, Allen Robinson's not going to be a player that you're going to be starting that often, which means he basically traded OBJ to upgrade a little bit at linebacker and also get Leonard Fournette. I mean, I know running backs are at a premium in this league, and in all leagues really, especially in this league though, think we tend to hold them a little bit higher than we do wide receivers. I don't know. I don't like this trade a ton for Nick, because it goes against what he's been doing lately, but it does help him cover some holes he has. So, hey, you know what? If that's what he wants to do, if he wants to go back and maybe downgrade a little bit at the offensive positions to have what he had last year and what he rode very far last year, which was just an absolutely stellar defense, then, hey, he can go for it. I would give this, like a B minus for Tyler. I think he won the trade by just a little bit overall, but he did get the best player in the trade and everything like that. So I think a B. If a C is average and both sides basically broke even, maybe a B. I'm going to give you a B, Tyler, on this one, and that means you get a D plus, Nick. So that's my grade for it. That's how that's going to go. But let's get back to what happened last week. So the sucky people played each other, and then which meant that Doug ended up getting screwed. So Doug, instead of going 2-0, he ends up falling to 1-1, but still has a good team, so I wouldn't worry too much about that at this point. So let's move on to what the standings look like after all of this. And one of the things that I really like about Yahoo versus what we had before It's now all of a sudden lyrics are showing up in this no copyright song that I want in the background. Really hoping it wouldn't have any of those so people don't get distracted by the two mouths making noises. Anyways, so what we have is a really cool thing because it actually says on the rankings what your waiver budget you have left is, so I don't have to have a separate slide for that. Saves me a little bit of time. But yeah, so at this point, only 3 people have yet to spend any of their fab. That is Doug, I believe Fantastic 4 is Sean. I'm still trying to get people everyone down at this point. And I'm pretty sure Tickle My Kittle is Dave. So those 3, they got pretty good teams going on still, despite not spending any money. They're all I think they're all pretty high up in my rankings at this point. So, hey, if you can make that happen, that's great. Save your money, throw someone a big down. Something I really like, though, about this league is the parity in it. Right now, there are 6 teams at 1-1 and only 2 teams at 2-0, 2 teams at 0-2. So I think that just shows how good the league is this year. I feel really bad for Tyler because he should probably be statistically a lot better than 0-2. He should probably be 1-1 if not 2-0. He just has run some bad luck where myself and some of the other people who aren't as good have run some good luck. So what was I getting at? Anyways, standings are looking good. Not a lot you can really glean at this point. We're still very early in the season. Still a lot of noise that has to get sorted out between what is noise and what is signal. So that's what's going on with the standings. Now, on to the Eliminator. And this is why, straight up, this is why I wanted to make the show this week. I couldn't skip one more week because I had to talk about the Eliminator because we have 2 people who are already on the verge of being eliminated. We could be down to 10 people after 3 weeks. I think that's what happened last year. We definitely lost 1 or 2 people after the first day that you could have a cut. So Jerry and Nick have both been in the bottom half for 2 weeks. The bottom third for 2 weeks in that 9 through 12 position, where they get 4 strikes, and because of that, they both have 2 strikes. I narrowly avoided by a stat correction in week 1 getting a strike, which means I only have 1 at this point, and Malcolm has 1 at this point. And if you're looking at this, you're wondering what those other colors are that aren't red. Green means that you were the high point for the week. I think that'll be a little bit interesting to show as we go on with this, to be like, okay, this is the person who did the best. Just so that we can basically, see who's been doing well consistently. And then if you are yellow, that means you are the person who was the lucky dog, the person who was 1 away from being taken out. And that was Tyler last week with his 122.6 points. Definitely a big fall from the first week, but still a good team and all. Now with some new additions is OBJ. And it seems like 120-ish points has been where you want to be the first 2 weeks. So that is when you're looking at your scores, if you're underneath that, you want to start checking other people's scores to see if you have a chance of surviving. So that is what's going on in the Eliminator. So once again, Jerry and Nick, buckle your butts in because you are in for a long season of trying not to get eliminated. As you are the 2 people with 2 strikes at this point. Malcolm, Matt M, myself, and Matt S. The M squad, except for Mike, who sucks. The M squad is holding it down at 1 strike apiece, and then everybody else is the top half of the league for the Eliminator. They're all just kind of hanging out with 0 strikes at this point. But there's a lot of strikes to go around this week, as once again, 4 teams will be getting a strike. And this week, here are the matchups. So it looks like, so it starts off with myself versus Tyler, which is a very interesting matchup because my team has been very bad the first 2 weeks, and I've just gotten lucky to be 1-1, where Tyler has had a very good team the first 2 weeks, and he got a little bit unlucky to end up being at 0-2. So curious to see how this is going to end up working out. I would like to advance to 2-1 and knock down Tyler to 0-3. I'm not predicting that. I think the win is going to go to Tyler here. Next up, we have the reigning champion in Mike going up against Matt S. I think this is going to be a very close game. Anyone can win it. Same with the next one, where we have our two undefeated teams. So there will only be one undefeated team after this week, and I think that's really cool. Parity is really awesome, unless they tie. But if that happens, then I don't know. I'll sing a song next week in this show if that happens. I don't know. I'll do something weird. Mr. Binary Code, also known as Mac, up against, I believe it is Dave. They are also another very close match, and they are matched up at 1-1. You have All the Singletaries by Matt M and Nick facing off in a matchup that is probably one of the worst matchups of the week. And those guys are going to be facing off as Nick tries to recover from his trading and everything like that. 0-2 start to get his first win in the season. And then in the divisional matchup, we have Doug versus Jerry in what could be a pretty important early season game for tiebreakers. So that's what's going on this week, and now we're just going to get into it. We're going to get into the rankings, and I'm going to start telling everybody what's up with their team, what they can do to improve, and I don't know, something else maybe. I don't know. We'll get to it later. I didn't come up with some cool classes, but this is the C class, and at the bottom of the barrel, I got to have Nick down there. So just so you guys know, I have placeholders for where people were last week. Everyone's null at this point, and who they had, what points their average points were for the last 3 weeks, as well as what position they were for the last 3 weeks. There's nothing I can really do with that right now because we haven't had 3 weeks yet, so that is also going to sit at null and nulth for the positions. So Nick's team, it's different now. I'm trying to figure out why he would make the trade that he did. Did he make a trade after? Is this his second trade today? Let me double check that. He might have made a trade after I scanned this. He did. Okay. So this isn't even freaking close to Nick's team right now. Because Nick's team is actually Russell Wilson, Allen Robinson, Juju, Matt Breida, and Leonard Fournette. The tight end is still Jared Cook. And his flex is probably Mostert at this point, with Allen Robinson on the bench. And then his linebacker, instead of Jordan Hicks, is Leighton Vander Esch. And then he has a bunch of different people on his bench. Basically, the moral of the story is Nick's trying to trade out of a hole because he sucks. And looking at his team as it sits right now, still sucks. Russell Wilson hasn't been the guy everyone expected him to be. He's been fine. But, the last few years, he's had this absolutely insane touchdown ratio to yardage and to attempts. Aaron Jones. Yeah, that seems like that's a fair thing in your flex. And then you have Mostert and Robinson on the bench. But yeah, basically, your team still sucks, even with all of that. And let me tell you why. So you have a kicker who has put up 10 points over 2 games. That ain't great. Your defense, Frank Clark hasn't really done much of anything all season. Yeah, okay, so you got to find linebacker and you got to find defensive back, whatever. Those are fine, whatever. Do what you want with those. But when you look at like your starters, I still don't like a lot what you got going on because you're starting like Matt Breida, who is going to have a 4th person enter that committee soon. I love the guy, and I love his talent, but if they don't commit to him, and this is a coaching core that does not like to commit to one back, as we've seen over the years with these guys, this is a coaching core that's not really looking to, commit to one guy. So when they have 4 guys in the backfield with Wilson, Mostert, Breida, and Coleman, I think you're going to lose a lot of touches, and I think you might start regressing back down to a flex or, maybe like a running back 4 type situation, depending on how they move him. Aaron Jones is in trouble right now. A report came out today that they were looking to mix in some more backs. because they didn't like the way that he was handling the workload the first 2 weeks, so they want to spice it up, throw somebody else in there, make some other stuff happen. So that's something you gotta look out for. Who else do you have on your team that's a piece of garbage? Oh, Leonard Fournette's got a rookie quarterback, or I don't know if he's a rookie, but not a good quarterback. So they're just gonna stack the box against him. I mean, you're really just you're just kind of struggling at this point, and that's fine. I know you'll trade your way out of it, you'll make stuff happen, but I'm just not liking your team right now, and your points per game is showing that it's not been that good either. So you're going to sit down at 12, Nick. Coming up at number 11, it's me. I can only huff my own, farts so much. My team's just been garbage. I really wanted to come in here and make myself like top 5 just for the memes, but I gotta be honest, at least for the first week, my team's just garbage. I think Matt Ryan is going to continue to get better. I think he just had 2 tough matchups early on, and the 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, that's going to change. He's going to trend in the right direction with those, and I think that's going to help out Julio and stuff like that. Calvin Ridley, the running game. I think all that's going to eventually start coming together. And then we have, who else do we have? We got Devontae Adams, who, again, 2 really tough matchups to start the season, going against, Minnesota and Chicago. Now his season should start to open up a little bit. Denver is another tough matchup, but after that, he's got a nice little stretch, and I think that's really going to be great for him, and it's going to make him look a lot better. It's going to make Rodgers look a lot better, but not really doing great right now. But this is how I could go through my entire list. Like, player is good, but here's some excuses, and here's my ending thing, just kind of being like, maybe we'll see what happens. And I think everyone could probably agree that I have a solid lineup until you hit tight end. So, a QB, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, they're fine. My tight end scored 0 points last week, 6 points the week before, has a fumble, and hasn't been getting the ball thrown to him at all, really. I mean, the guy's targets is 5. That's not a lot, over the course of 2 games especially. So if he doesn't get a lot of uses this week, it might be time to cut bait with him and sell him off. He's playing against the Giants, who have habitually been able to be abused by tight ends. So that's my one hope. I got 1 more week left. If it doesn't work out, he's gone. LeSean McCoy is up against a very good defense, but I feel like they are going to be... I don't know how this is going to end up working out. He did practice today, while Williams did not practice. So what I'm hoping for is McCoy is the back this week, because there isn't anybody else. They might get some other backs involved, because I know they have a lot of talent in the backfield, but I would much rather have them fixing that for a second. But I really think that they should be that's just more of a hope, and I don't know if that's going to be great moving forward. Now, I do like my team in the future, and if it pans out the way I hope it will, with all these players putting up good numbers this week, O.J. Howard getting right, McCoy getting the job for a week or 2 as people deal with injuries, and then I have a lot of people's handcuffs. I got Chris Thompson, but I have Geis, so I guess that's my handcuff. But I have Johnson for Cleveland, so if the Chubb owner wants to hit me up for that, I got him. I got Ty Johnson, who is going to be getting a lot more touches moving forward. If the Kerryon Johnson owner wants to grab onto that. But yeah, I like my team. I just know it's definitely not worth being rated very highly right now, especially with the poor play that I've been getting at some of the positions from players that I thought were going to be good. So, and hey, maybe I bought. Hopefully, I'm just hoping I bought low on Mixon and Green, and I can in Thielen, and I can really make them work. But we got to move on from me. I'm only so good, and we got to move on to Jerry, my division mate, and his team has been having some struggles as well. I think he's made some pretty good moves. Cam Newton being on the bench is one of the best ones that he's made. I know that the Jones and Barber trying situation that he had didn't really work out great for him because they seemed like they're not entirely sure who they want at this point going on. But I do like his team a lot. I think he's made some pretty good trades. Going out and grabbing Gurley for one. I think he's been playing really well. And if that ankle or knee, rather, the arthritic knees, if they don't end up doing anything this year and he can be himself, I think you're going to see his touches continue to rise. I think he's going to be really, really good. Chris Carson, he's looked really good except for the 2 fumbles that he's lost, and that is why people are beginning to think maybe Rashad Penny's going to get some more touches. But if he can fight him off, which I don't know why he shouldn't be able to, I think he's the more talented back. I think you could have some really good stuff going on there. And then you just have studs with Julio Jones and Amari Cooper as your wide receivers is absolutely far and away better than everybody else is in the league, I believe. You have just the top 2 wide receiver pair. And then you got people like James White, John Ross, who are both, I think could be very good role players on a given week if you see that they have a good matchup going on or something like that to bump into your flex. And Greg Olsen, he looks like he's back to his old ways, and especially if they're going to have this other quarterback coming in and doing some stuff, then tight ends are always a good security blanket, and he's a veteran. I think he's going to, grab that guy and be like, look, if you got to make 5 yards, just look away from me for a second and then turn to me and just rifle one in. I'll catch it. I'll fall down. We'll get the first down. So I think that's what they're going to be doing, and I think Greg Olsen's a really good guy to have right now, and even moving forward because him and Cam do have a really good connection. Other than that, I mean, J.J. Watt really hasn't been doing anything for you. And I think if he ends up getting himself going, I think this is going to be an absolutely, your team's going to be looking a lot better. It's just you have a couple things that you need to really just kind of, and it's dumb things too. It's like Fairburn, he's not been great either. Jamal Adams hasn't been the Jamal Adams we all expected him to be. So if you can just kind of patch up a lot of these problems that I think aren't talent related, they're just maybe usage or bad luck related for some of these other players, I think you can definitely end up having a much better team. But I think it's still a solid team right now. It's just not putting up the points, and for that, I got to put you down number 10. Moving up to the B class, so that is the bottom 3. I think they're just in a class all of their own of just not being great. But we move on to Malcolm now at number 9. And I'm sorry, Malcolm. I just had to tax you because of the fact that Michael Thomas is getting thrown to for a few weeks by 2015 Pro Bowler Teddy Bridgewater. I think it was 2015. So yeah, it is. It's fine, but you still got to get dinged for that. And I like how you are rocking Daniel Jones on your bench just in case. I don't know just in case what, but just in case. And I like it. I like it a good bit. Did I forget to put in... shoot. All right, so we're going to be jumping out of this at the end and going to somewhere else. Guys, remember I did a dumb thing. I didn't put in the Roto statistics and everything. So anyways, so you got a good running back core because you have Saquon, and literally you could have no one else. You'd have a good running back core. But David Montgomery, he looks like he's starting to take over the role out there. My only issue is that if Trubisky, as I mentioned earlier, continues not to be good, it's going to be very difficult for him to do much of anything because he's going to be having 7 people in the box at all times, sometimes 8. It's going to be very difficult for you to really do anything with that running back position. And your wide receiver position is also a little bit scary. I'm not entirely sure why you have Mike Williams starting when you have Josh Gordon, but you do, so that's a thing, I guess. So I guess it's not as bad as I thought it was, because you do have Thomas, Gordon, and then McLaren, who's looked pretty good, actually. I think he's definitely a guy to look out for if you're in another league that isn't with us. Go out and grab that guy. He's been looking really good. But yeah, so you got a pretty interesting team. Carrying 2 tight ends, carrying 2 quarterbacks, stuff like that is not anything that I would really go after. But hey, you're doing it. Do you, dude? Um, Moving on down to the rest of your team, you took Justin Tucker really freaking early, and it's not really paid off yet, but he does already have 1 field goal made of 50-plus yards. I just think that the issue with Justin Tucker this year is their offense is just going to be so damn good. You're not going to be getting 50-plus yard field goals. You're going to be getting points after. I think your offense just might be too good in Baltimore to have Justin Tucker be the Justin Tucker that you want him to be. We also have on your team, Aaron Donald, who not great, honestly. He's the defensive player of the year for the last 2 seasons, and he's just not really been able to do it this year. I don't really know what his issue is. Maybe they've just been double teaming him a lot more. Maybe people have just finally figured him out. I don't think either of those things are really a problem. I think he's going to get his eventually. He's going to break out. But for now, he has been a little bit spooky for you. But yeah, so while I think you are in the B tier, which is still really good, don't get me wrong, I think you're near the bottom of it just because of the fact that you do have some very iffy players that you're still looking to be playing on a regular basis. And if give me one more week of Mark Andrews being good, give me a breakout week from David Montgomery or Golden Tate coming back and being really good, suddenly you're going to be up there. You're going to be skyrocketing. I mean, everyone, it's so close right now. It was really hard making these rankings. So that is Malcolm at number 9. At number 8, we have Matt S. And honestly, he could have been here or he could have been at the top of the group. I'm not really sure where I wanted to put him, but I ended up deciding to put him near the bottom just because of the fact that he is the Drew Brees owner, and that's just not great. He was part of one of the trades earlier with Nick, so he ended up giving up Aaron Jones, Raheem Mostert, and Gio Bernard. So if you're looking at his lineup, take out Mostert and Aaron Jones, so his top two of his 3 running backs that he has in. And he now has Sony Michel, John Brown, and Malcolm Brown. So he's probably starting Sony Michel and John Brown. John Brown probably into his flex. But yeah, and that's all, of course, contingent on things like Deshaun Jackson. It's doubtful becoming an out, which it probably will very soon. But yeah, I'm a big fan of his team as well. I'm a fan of really everybody's team. But as everybody else, he also has some concerns, and that is why he finds himself down here. For example, he doesn't have Drew Brees, so he's starting Josh Allen. Now, if Josh Allen can keep up the pace that he's been on, and he can, he's probably going to go off this week against Cincinnati, so he's probably going to look really, really good. If he can ride that momentum, I think that Josh Allen might be an absolutely great pickup as a fill-in for Drew Brees. The only issue being that he does have a bye in Week 6, so then you have to play the game of, do I want to carry 3 quarterbacks through Week 6, or do I want to cut Josh Allen, pick somebody up, and then see what happens after that? Because I know that Drew Brees is not going to be back Week 6. I think they're aiming for more of a Week 7, Week 8 return, and it could be as late as Week 10 with the bye being Week 9. I don't really see that happening. I see this being a Week 7 return or maybe a Week 8 return, depending on their record, of course. If they're, out of it or something, maybe they'll consider holding him out until after the bye. Or if they're really far ahead, maybe they'll hold him out until after the bye just to make sure that he is 100% healthy and he has that full hand strength to grip the ball. Because I guess that's the main problem with this injury, is it's very difficult to... because of where the tendon is, you lose a lot of strength because you can't really grip anything for 6 weeks as you have pins in your hand and you're waiting for all that damage to heal. So while you're recovered from the surgery and everything, you might not have your full grip strength yet. So it's you might see some balls sail on him, some balls slip out, and when he does get back, if they don't want to give him that little bit of extra time to make something happen. But yeah, so that's what's going on with Drew Brees. I don't know why I have all this dumb information, but I do. Hopefully you guys are enjoying it. So, but yeah, so like everybody else's team, you have some other issues. Mike Evans and Robert Woods haven't been looking great at this point. Robert Woods, I think, is definitely the favorite target right now of Jared Goff, but Jared Goff just has not looked very good lately. He hasn't gotten 2 touchdowns yet in a game. He, two passing touchdowns rather, which is why, it's been very hard to get points for the LAR wide receivers. His yardage hasn't been great either. So if he can get himself right and get back to the guy he was last season, then yeah, these 3 wide receivers can be great again. But for now, just kind of, it's just a little bit spooky looking at them because Goff just isn't being himself quite yet. And Mike Evans, I feel like he's just slowly fading into the wide receiver 2 out there. It seems like Jameis is really into his the second guy out there. Can't remember his name. Someone in chat will yell at me. But yeah, I think it's just one of those things where he's just falling away there. And the rest of his team is, fine. He definitely has some good players on the team. Like your Will Fullers, and if Tevin Coleman comes back and takes over the job. But, I mean, I just told you everything about my San Francisco take earlier. So, yeah, it's a bit of a mess, but I feel like he is doing really good with the issues that he's having. And he has some really talented players that are just maybe not getting the opportunities at the time. And he has Le'Veon Bell, who is probably going to get 50 touches a game until they get their quarterback back. Which moves us on to number 7, which is the other Matt. So Matt M, that pickup of Dak Prescott, my friend, was an absolutely brilliant move. Technically not legal, but it doesn't really matter. No one's going to hold it against you. It was an issue with the setup in the league that I'm going to try to resolve soon. Hopefully it'll be resolved this weekend. But yeah, so Dak Prescott, though, absolutely phenomenal pickup. I was thinking the first week was probably good, but not this good. I mean, clearly I like the guy. I picked him up in the other league, in the 2-quarterback league, so I have him and Lamar Jackson. Just they're fine, I guess. But yeah, but your team is a team that is doing quite well right now, and on top of that, you were able to make some pretty good trades. Like you have Brandon Cooks, who again, if Goff can get right, is going to be absolutely great. And you picked up Marlon Mack, who has been getting a lot of touches. I mean, he's got 225 yards and 45 attempts in 2 games. I mean, that is just absolutely fantastic. On top of the fact that he is getting some targets, he got 3 targets, I believe, last week, none the first week. So he is beginning to ramp up as a pass catcher as well. Yeah, I just really like a lot of what you got going on with your team. The reason that you're down here is I don't know how much of it's going to last. For example, Josh Jacobs has not been looking as great as the statistics have shown. He has 2 touchdowns already. I don't know if he's going to be able to keep that up, especially with his injury. Sammy Watkins, as soon as Tyreek Hill comes back, I don't know how sustainable his absolutely insane production is going to be able to be. But you do have some people who are coming up from underneath. For example, you have Devin Singletary, who is going to be hurt for a little bit, which is going to be bad, but that might just be enough for you to look, for the team to look at what they have with Frank Gore and realize this is not what we want for the future. Clearly in future seasons, but for this particular season, I think we want to switch over to Devin Singletary, and if that offense continues to click, I think he's going to have an absolutely fantastic rest of the season. I'd really like him on my team, but, I traded for Mixon and A.J. Green instead because I'm going all in on the Cincinnati offense. That actually hurt to say out loud. So I like your team. I think you're definitely near the top of this tier. And as we look down near the bottom, you made a pretty good couple of switches up down there, grabbing Linval Joseph. Because you weren't enjoying what your defensive lineman was doing. I think you had... I don't remember who you had, but either way. So I think you're doing some pretty good stuff here. Keep up the good work, Matt M. And that is the end of the B class. We move on up to the A class. The A class is, of course, for winners. And we start off with Dave. Dave is up here because he had basically gone all in on the Baltimore offense, which is probably a much smarter thing to do than going all in on the Cincinnati offense, because he has Lamar Jackson and Hollywood Brown. Does Baltimore play New England this year? Because I'd like to see the Brown Cousins battle. I think that'd be pretty cool. But anyways, but you got a lot of good players on your team. I mean, you got Alvin Kamara, who is probably going to be absolutely insane the next few weeks, because they're going to need a good running game to open up passing lanes and stuff like that for the 2015 All-Pro quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. George Kittle's eventually going to get right. If you are listening right now, I would highly suggest moving Derrick Henry into your running back spot, because if you're going to start him, you don't want to tie that thing up just in case something happens. But yeah, I think you got a pretty good lineup going on right now. I'm just going to speed these up a little bit, just because, game's starting soon, and I got a lot to get used to. But yeah, I like Lamar Jackson. I like Marquise Brown. I like what they're doing. I think that's going to be very hard for people to cover him because he's just so damn fast. And I like that you have the potential of a lot of players getting a lot better. But unlike other teams who have the potential of teams getting better, blah, 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 like I said earlier, you actually have players who are already doing really, really good stuff. And all you need is for, Freeman and Kittle to be doing what you drafted them to do. And, your team's going to end up just absolutely popping off and being absolutely fantastic. So good luck to you on that, Dave. Doug is doing pretty well. He's been putting up a lot of points. The big issue with him is he's still, a lot of that has been coming from the defensive positions, which is good. You want a lot of production out of your defense, with Hunter and Baker and Wagner. The issue with all of that is his offense has definitely not been clicking. You have Aaron Rodgers, who has not been very good this season, only putting up 15 points per game. Not what you're really looking for. DJ Moore hasn't been the guy that you expected him to be. Yeah, he's still been pretty good, but he's only getting about 80 yards per game, and that's not spectacular. Carrion hasn't been the guy that you expected him to be, but neither has Terry Cohen. James Conner's injured and looks like he might be splitting carries for a little bit. Honestly, I like your team, but I think I may have overrated you. I think you should probably definitely be down near number 7 or 8. I don't know why you're up this high. No offense, dude. I think you're doing the best of what you got right now, but I think I might have gotten starstruck a little bit by saying, like, Rodgers and Connor and Johnson and Kelsey and all these other players. Especially when you have a bench that is just absolutely abysmal, like Deshaun Hamilton and Devin Funches and Naheem Hines, like Jalen Samuels. Jalen Samuels might be good to have as a handcuff, but those other guys just have been absolutely not existing. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of what you got going on, so I think I might have overrated you here at number 5. At number 4, we have Mike. Mike has a big issue at the top of his board, which is Baker Mayfield. Not a great fan of that. Definitely somebody who he is going to be wanting to maybe look to trade somebody else for or something. Definitely I would be starting Matthew Stafford this week over him. Stafford's looked pretty good over the first couple weeks. And against Philly, I think that offense is going to run away from Detroit, and their defense isn't going to be putting up too much of a defense. That's going to turn into a track meet. That's going to be a 50-plus point game. Bet the over on that one, boys. And I think Philadelphia is going to be that's going to be a really good game for them. So I'd definitely go after that one. But yeah, other than that, I really like what you got going on, because Cooper Kupp is going to get his targets and stuff like that. He is the short yardage guy, and if Goff is trying to get himself right, one way he might do that is by just going after short yardage situations. Trying to get those like dink and dunk 5-10 yard plays instead of going for the bombs to Cooks or for the medium routes for Woods. Just hit Cooper Kupp, that slot guy, make that work for himself. But you also got other great players like Christian McCaffrey and DeAndre Hopkins and Zach Ertz. How the hell you got all three of those already is beyond me. You just built an absolutely beast of a lineup with those three. Philip Lindsay, yeah, he's losing some touches and stuff like that, but if he can just fight off Royce Freeman, who I believe was Malcolm's guy, he was like all excited about him last year. If he can fight off Royce, again like he did last season, he can end up doing some pretty good stuff there. And then, I mean, I'm just loving the Randall Cobb start as you wait for, Landry and Crowder and Sutton and all of them to really do something with themselves to separate themselves from one another. But I can't blame you picking Randall Cobb up against Miami. Like, literally any warm body playing against Miami, I'd probably start at this point. They're absolutely trash. But yeah, Mike, I really like your team. And yeah, that is why you were at number 4, but you are not at the top. At number 3, we have Tyler. Tyler is, he's got Patty Mahomes. The dude is just, he plays on another like tier of existence that we can only hope to have our quarterbacks achieve. Like, I was kind of like ready to make fun of him as we got into the season of like, oh man, how's that second round pick on Patty Mahomes paying off? And it's paying off. Yeah, it's definitely paying off at this point. Um, so yeah, I mean, his lineup's a little bit different than it says here, but he's got like Patty Mahomes, Keenan Allen, who is, now that Hunter Henry is out, is going to be getting a lot more looks because, that's what's going to have to happen. He's got OBJ, who, if he can just keep doing OBJ things like he did last week, where he got that 70-something yard touchdown, I mean, he was going to have a bad week, and then he did OBJ things. That's just how the dude works. Then he's got Austin Eckler and Melvin Gordon, so no matter what the Melvin Gordon situation breaks, he's going to end up being in a really good spot, and if Melvin Gordon ends up getting traded to somebody, my God, this team's going to be absolutely unbeatable. And that's a great thing because he's got Leonard Fournette. So if they do end up doing that trade, that's great for him. But he also has Frank Gore, who can just slot in right now as his RB2. Who else did he get? He got Gio. So that's not something he's going to be starting unless there's another injury. Oh, and look who he's got down there in his IR slot. Tyreek Hill, who should be back fairly soon. He can just get plugged into that wide receiver 3 position, a.k.a. his flex. So he's going to have, Mahomes to Tyreek Hill. He's going to have Keenan Allen and OBJ. He's going to have Eckler / and or Gordon. And then all he needs is another running back. And dude's going to be absolutely set for life. He's just going to be able to roll and do Tyler things because that is what Tyler does. He wins championships. He wins the league. That's just what he does. And his team is great this year too. And now we get up to the S class, which is consisted of the 2 players in the game of the week. I gotta give credit by putting these guys in the S class as the only 2 to get out unscathed from the first 2 weeks. And we have Sean and James, that fantastic 4 linebackers versus Mr. Salty. I really need to get Sean making some cool graphics for the league or something. Because all I got is that horse that smiles, that GIF horse. I mean, I know you should never look a GIF horse in the mouth, but I'm just saying, maybe we can do something better in Photoshop for the Horsehead League. We'll figure it out. But yeah, so this is definitely my game of the week, though. These 2 teams, undefeated. Only one can remain undefeated. It's going to be really cool. We also have a really tight matchup for the projections. I think both of these teams are going to be able to pop off this week because they're playing a lot of easy defenses. I mean, just take a look. We got Kenny Golladay up against Philadelphia. We got T.Y. Hilton up against Atlanta. Dalvin Cook against Oakland. And Ezekiel Elliott up against Miami on one side. And then on the other side, we have Antonio Brown up against the Jets. Goodwin, that's the guy I was trying to figure out who he was, up against the Giants. Who else we got? We got Ingram against Tampa Bay. Lockett against New Orleans. Like, this is going to be a high-scoring game. Somebody's going to end up being really sad at the end of it, but I'm really excited to see how that works out. But if I had to make my pick, I'd have James coming in second in that matchup because, again, just a little bit scared about Jared Goff. I think your team is absolutely phenomenal. It is stacked in the starters and everything like that. And on top of that, you have some pretty good depth with, backups. Like you have Justice Hill in case something happens to my boy Ingram. You got Pollard in case something happens to Cook. You got Madison covering up, covering up Cook, sorry, and you have Pollard covering up Elliott. So you're all set there. You have 3 really good wide receivers that are doing some really good stuff right now. T.Y. Hilton's just catching everything out in Indianapolis, and Calvin Ridley is just taking advantage of single coverage right now because he's just an absolute freak of nature. Then on top of all of that, you have some safety in Nelson Aguilar, and if Geronimo Allison ends up being a breakout stud, then that's going to be absolutely fantastic for you. Because I think he's going to be good, just not right now. Give him a couple weeks. I think that whole team gets right, and Green Bay ends up doing some really sexy things moving forward. The only other thing he's got going on is, again, he has the same problem that Justin Tucker has. The team's just not kicking field goals in Dallas, so he's just kind of stuck with a kicker that's only putting up extra points because his team's just too good. They're not stalling out when they get on the other side of the field, and they're just doing too good. And then you have, Kevin Byard and Levante David, who aren't putting up the numbers that you want, but I think that's, a function of luck because I think they're both very skilled players. And but that's all I have to say about James. And number 1 is the new guy, Sean. Maybe now that we've broken the no two-timer curse and stuff like that, maybe Sean can break the no newbie curse because his team and his unorthodox drafting strategy seems to be paying off very, very well. He's got Deshaun Jackson as his quarterback, and he's been absolutely, he's been very good. He hasn't been phenomenal. He hasn't been as good as everyone thought he was going to be. But I think that's just a matter of time. I think he just maybe is having some issues with matchups. I think he isn't somebody who's been figured out or anything like that, and I think you're going to see a lot better coming from him soon. He's got, as I said, A.B., Chris Godwin, Nick Chubb. Evan Ingram has looked absolutely fantastic this year, and especially, like I said before, with Greg Olsen, young quarterbacks, they like to lean on their tight ends. That's what he's going to be getting for the rest of the year with Daniel Jones. Tyler Lockett is the guy out in Seattle, as everyone predicted, and I think he's going to continue to ramp up with that. And then looking at your bench, you got people like Dede Westbrook and Emmanuel Sanders, who are both very good players. You also got Jeff Wilson, who I have started as a watch player because I thought, if he ends up becoming the guy somehow, then he could be absolutely great. Like, it's just a lot of really, really good talent on this team, and this is including things like having Carson Wentz on his bench, who, in a week or two, if a lot of these people who are trying to, pick up waiver wire quarterbacks, if 1 or 2 more of these starting quarterbacks go down, like your Brady's or, any of these top-tier quarterbacks go down, he's going to be able to get a pretty decent piece, maybe like a flex piece even, for Carson Wentz. And I think I don't want to see that happen, but it could happen. So that's what Sean's got going on with that. And then he's also got some pretty good people with Myles Garrett out there absolutely destroying people. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that because he literally did destroy a guy. Just looking at people, breaking people, doing all that good stuff. And then he's got Roquan Smith doing good stuff out in Chicago, just doing his thing. And then may be able to upgrade at DB, but, if he wants to sit by Sean Williams, that's fine too. Really can't blame the guy for that. But yeah, I think that Sean has a very good team going on. I think he is he's peaking right now and doing some pretty good stuff. So, Sean, congratulations. You are that guy. Now I'm going to jump over here into Google Sheets. Doop, boop, doop, boop, boop. Because we need to see what the Roto has going on. Rotisserie. So what do we got in the rotisserie today? So starting off, I'm just going to go through these very quickly as we have hit kickoff and it is, only week 2. But as I said before, we will have 15 through 0 points for everybody. based on the very scientific process known as Mario Kart. And over here, you can see your totals, how many points you are behind the person who's in first place, and then you can also see how many points people have been getting in any given week. If you go to the spreadsheets, you can see all of this. I'm only going to keep about 3 weeks exposed in any given time. So here we have Dave M, who is surprisingly beating Tyler. I don't know who Dave's. Where is Dave? Dave. Lamar Jackson, that explains it. So you got Lamar Jackson and Patty Mahomes just kind of hanging out up there at the number 1 and 2 spot. Absolutely killing it right now. That's why they're at the top of the quarterbacks. For running backs, James is doing very good right now, as is Tyler and Mike. And Dave is also pretty high up there in the points for that. And as you're going to see, Nick is at the bottom of both of those two, getting goose eggs for that. While we're here, let's jump down to defensive linemen. Sean has been absolutely killing it with Myles Garrett. And Doug with Neil Hunter has been also doing pretty good over at D-line. At linebacker, Matt S. is in second place. Must have been a stat correction. That happened, I missed it. And I didn't reset the line, everything here. But Matt S. is in second place behind Matt M. And then I am right there as well. A little bit more consistent with my numbers, but again, 10 points behind. So it's really just the Matts that are absolutely killing it over at linebackers. Let's keep scrolling over down at the bottom here. Don't want to give away anything going on in the future. Defensive backs, we have Malcolm at number 1 with a lot of people really, really close still. So don't really worry about that. And again, this is only week 2. A lot can change, a lot can go on. And over in kickers, of course, a freaking course, when it comes to kickers, how the hell am I at number 1? I don't like kickers. I want them out of the damn league, and yet I'm the guy sitting here with freaking 15 points coming into me from goddamn kickers. I hate you guys. I'll take the 15 points, but I hate you guys. Also of note, Dave M is currently at -1 points for kickers. Just a little fun fact. Scrolling on up to tight ends, where I sit at dead last with my 6.2 points because O.J. Howard has not been the guy I drafted him to be. But Sean doing really good things with Doug, with Travis Kelce right behind him. Sean, of course, having Evan Ingram, and that is why he is at the top, because that's been an absolutely great hookup going on there. And then for wide receivers, we have James and Jerry topping off there, which means if we scroll all the way over, we can be revealed. Who is it? Who is at number 1? And it is Sean. As to be expected, he did have the best team, and that shows here with him having the most points. The only other person who has 2 15s, and thus having 2 of the best positions, is James, which also checks out because he has the best running backs and the best wide receivers, which are a ton of points. So congratulations to those 2 on having 2 victories under their belts. And if you want to take a look at who else is going on and where you are, we have Doug, Malcolm, and Mike all right together with 11 points behind, and James only 1 point behind them. And then we have the Matts with this 15 should be here, this 12 should be here, as we saw. That's my bad. So, just move some points around. They're still in the same vague area. And then we have Nick at the very bottom with Jerry. Neither of them having a really good team at this point, as well as myself being down at 9th. So that is it for this week. I'm going to leave it there. We will see you guys next week. Go enjoy the games. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I will have more content coming out for you next week. So thank you all, and have a pleasant evening.